Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of our show, Tawheed and the Spiritual Unity of the Three Principles. This is the first webinar series of the second half of the season of Tawheed. And the topic that we're going to be exploring today is the wisdom of Muslim scholars and poets. And so today I have my co-host with me, Harry Derbitsky, and amazing group of people. So I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas and amazing holidays with family and loved ones, and Happy New Year. Now Harry is in Mexico, so he gonna be sharing a bit of that with us on the show. I hope so, and I hope you're gonna tell us good jokes, Mexican jokes, Harry.
I'll tell you. I'll explain a few Mexican challenges that I've encountered.
Sure. Okay. So Harry, I'll pass it over to you as you've picked this topic, and you've been around scholars recently a lot, especially that now you're the head, or how do you call it, Harry? The head of the addiction department in the
Back to the
Fitra Mentoring Academy.
I'm the training director of
Okay.
of the addiction, not of all of Back to the Fitra, just the addiction department of Back to the Fitra Mentoring Academy. And I was invited in, and what it evolved to was going inside the bubble. Like even on this show, it was still, Harry was still, he was getting closer and closer, but he wasn't in the bubble. And now working with the people, I became that. And once a week, we meet with Professor Muhammad Abdullah, who's the wisest scholar I have met in any religion. And he's actually going to come on our show at the end of February with Rabbi Shoel Rosenblatt together. But what he did, he exposed pure teachings of the Muslim faith. And to no surprise of you, once you get to a scholar who really knows what he's talking about from the inside out about the Muslim faith, and he knows it's just incredible, and he's so honest and has such integrity, he took me inside the bubble from a spiritual perspective. So even though he was talking about the Muslim faith, I never saw the connection between the three principles and the Muslim faith as clearly as I do now. And that doesn't mean I clearly see it, but I see it more clearly now. And the reason I've asked for this topic was Omar and I had a lot of fun with this particular topic because it exemplifies the wisdom of Muslim poets and scholars, etc. And Omar's going to be presenting a quote, and then we're going to discuss it. And I have from Ghazali, who is considered by many to be the second person behind Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad. So I'm going to use him as the examples, and I find him quite fascinating. But first, Omar, I'd like you to start with a quote. And the idea is the quote will be said, and then we'll discuss it. What does it mean to you? What does it mean from the three principles perspective? What does it mean from the non-three principles perspective, the Muslim faith? But I am telling you something. The Muslim faith has a spiritual psychology deep-rooted within it. And it's amazing for me to see why it's such a fast-growing religion, and how they're looking at it it looks like from the outside that they're telling you what to do, but it's all about finding the answer for yourself. Okay, go ahead, Omar, whatever quotes you have, or whatever you want, or even whatever you want to talk about.
All right, so I would love to start first of all with sharing a quote or a poet from Jalaluddin Rumi, known as Rumi. And this is the poet. A moment of happiness, you and I sitting on the veranda, apparently two, but one in soul, you and I. We feel the flowing water of life here, you and I, with the garden's beauty and the bird are singing. The stars will be watching us, and we will show them what it is to be a thin crescent moon. You and I, unselfed, will be together, indifferent to idle speculation, you and I. The parrots of heaven will be cracking sugar as we laugh together, you and I, in one form upon this earth and in another form in a timeless sweet land. What a beautiful, sweet, deep poet or poetry. I found this one. I wanted to start with this one because it I want to bring about the or remind all of us of the oneness of life. As you could hear or like in this poet, Rumi is pointing us that even that I see you as separate from me, but you and I are in fact one and connected with our souls. And in that realm, there are no separations. The separations might appear in our intellect about another human being, but beyond the intellect, there are no separations. And so when he said that the stars will be watching us, and we will show them what it is to be a thin crescent moon, that again points us back to the oneness of everything. I do remember actually Mara Gleason on her book. I read it a long time ago, and this just occurred to me right now. But she had an experience where she was studying in Buenos Aires, and then these two guys, one of them was carrying a gun, and he wanted to steal her bag from her. And then he puts a gun on top of her head. And all of a sudden, she had this experience where she could see and be one with everything, including that tree over there. And that experience, what came about from her mouth is that she put the gun down and she was like, don't worry, you'll be fine. Now, when this happened to her, she didn't know anything about the experience until she got back to her intellect, and she was like, oh my God, like what's happened, etc. But when she came across this understanding, she's realized that there is oneness, that there is a oneness of life, you know, that we are all one in it. And as Rumi always say and point us back to that again and again in his poetry, quotes, and books, we are not a drop in the ocean. We are the entire ocean in a drop. So yeah, I think I'll just pause here and give it over to you, Harry.
Let me say, can you repeat just the sentence about the parrot? Just the two lines about the parrot.
The parrots of heaven will be cracking sugar as we laugh together, you and I in one form upon this earth, and in another form in a timeless sweet land. That timeless sweet land is that pure consciousness or divine consciousness that it's part that we are all part of.
Yeah, absolutely, Omar, absolutely. What struck me, like a lot of people, when I work with people with addiction, they're always surprised that what we're talking about is exactly what Omar just read about the parrot and how the two minds become one mind and have a good time together. That's the total healing of addiction. And all the other stuff is just, it's not the healing. It's the process to the healing. And so when the two minds become one and we start having a good time and they start to feel their own beauty and their own good time, they start to see that that's who they are. And that's part of what Rumi is pointing to, is that's who we are. We are this fun-loving thing. And when we get distracted, of course, from the 3P perspective, by our thinking, which of course is obviously true. But that's where you don't want to go when you're talking to a person with addiction. Where you want to go is where the healing is, where the parrot. Read that parrot line again. I just love it. One more time, Omar. Sorry.
So you want to make me parrot, Harry, right? By repeating
No,
myself.
no. Yeah, okay.
Well, guess what? Me and the parrots are one. Okay.
Okay.
So here we go again. The parrots of heaven will be cracking sugar and we laugh together. You and I, in one form upon this earth, and in another form in a timeless sweet land. That's
the answer to everything. And when that feeling, that space is experienced, people know where to go. They have the direction they need. And more importantly, they say that where it originated from was themselves. And so you always tell your client, don't worship me, don't follow me, find your own connection. And when we get together, you teach me, because when we come together, you open my heart to the possibility of what life is. So that's what I got from that. Let's pass it around the room, Omar.
Anyone want to share what occurred to them when hearing this beautiful poet?
And he is amazing. Rumi is, and they call him not a sage, they call him a poet.
Oh, yeah.
You have something to say, Sue? It looks like you're struggling. Can you unmute her, Omar?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Sue.
Oh, I thought I was being a silent parrot.
Ah.
I have an apprentice meeting at 11, so I'll be off this. So I just want to say thank you, Harry. Thank you, Omar. I just love what you say, because what you say goes like this to me, and I may forget the words, but how you say it and who you are mean a lot to me. And what I put in the chat to you, Omar, is that poem available? How I'd love to have that and use it in my class.
Sure, I will post it actually on the FB group after the call,
Okay.
for everyone to to see, to read again and keep.
Yeah, next term, in spring term, I'm focusing on addiction and loss, grief, and what you just said, Harry, like, it's just perfect. So thank you.
And if you want me to come on for like 15 minutes to help with the class, just ask.
I will. They love it. They just love it. Like, Ellen Flood has been on several times.
Okay, well, it'd be my pleasure, and it'll be a lot of fun to hang out together.
Okay.
And me too. So like, if you need me, or if you want me to have a conversation with your group or anything like that, just yeah, please.
Well, I'll just say real quickly that in the winter term, my portion of it will be in February, and I already have listed as videos from Omar and Harry, not about addiction, but about life, just life in general.
Yeah.
And
Well, because it isn't about addiction, it's about truth and life.
yes, yes.
I never talk about addiction.
Well,
I just heal people who are, I don't heal them, of course. It's Allah or God or mind or whatever. But that's all that happens.
Well, I'm just going to say one more thing. And that is that and anybody could come on this. I would invite anybody, because
Well, you let us know. We'll put it in our Facebook group.
Okay, that'd be great. The name of my winter term, the name, because this is at a university, so you have to have a title. So the title is A Quiet Mind in a Crazy World. Now take that one.
Yeah, sounds kind of crazy to me.
I know, I like crazy. And quiet.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, we're gonna go into the show. Thanks, Sue. Really great.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you again.
Okay, so my
Thank you,
quote.
Sue.
Okay, Ruby. I've been reading a little bit about Ghazali, who and Professor Muhammad Abdullah. He's going to be actually teaching a bit more, but he mentioned him, and I've been curious about him. So I have a quote, and I have 3 quotes actually, but I'm just going to start with one. You must convince your heart whatever Allah has decreed is most appropriate and most beneficial for you. From the universe lies in you. Notice the title of his book. The universe lies in you. I find like how they point to the inside is very, very beautiful in the Muslim faith. I didn't even think they did, to be honest. I thought people had the Muslim faith, and then from 3P, they realized it was an inside out. But no, it's right in there. And so I read that. You must convince your heart whatever Allah has decreed is most appropriate and most beneficial for you. And I'm in Mexico right now, and I've finally got everything organized. It was all this, and the ocean is 8 miles of ocean, very few people on it. I'm 200 meters from the ocean. I have lots of food and a panoramic view and all this stuff.
And burritos, Harry.
And burritos and tacos.
So good.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I'm in a great space. It took me a little while I arrived super tired, but now I'm in everything is rolling like peachy. And I go into the ocean, and the ocean has these the loud noises with the waves, just so and so. And I'm in the water, and I'm just having the time of my life. And then all of a sudden, one wave, all the others are 2 feet high. One wave, 6 feet high, comes, and it crescendos right on where I am. And I don't know what to do. I heard later you're supposed to dive under it but anyway, I decided to stick my feet in the sand and absorb the force of my mighty nation, and it swept me off the ocean. In the undertow, I have a huge red welt over here. It was bleeding. My back, my arms, everything, and chipped my tooth. All in 2 seconds, my world changed. But I had something called consciousness or awareness that even though and I was dizzy and just, almost like I had a concussion. And I walked back to my place, and for 24 hours, I just kind of rested and recuperated. And this morning, Bertha, who's a lady here with the car, drove me to the dentist, and they fixed my tooth. That whole thing could have ruined my whole trip, except for what Ghazali said. You must convince your heart whatever Allah has decreed is most appropriate and most beneficial for you. And the truth is, I had a feeling that it was going to work out. And even though I'm not 100% now, and all the beauty that you guys are used to seeing me with this big red wart, now I'm deformed and all this type of stuff. It's working out. If we just throw away the poop, throw away and to tell you the truth, I didn't particularly like the thing, especially when I found out that I had half a tooth missing. But I woke up this morning and it just was fine. And I went to this little local dentist. Dentists are a sixth as expensive as in the United States and Canada. And he did a beautiful job. Bertha gave me a ride home. I picked up some pastries and I'm on this show and I'm having fun again. It was just one of those events. And you know what? Darn Allah, Omar, how could he throw this one isolated huge wave exactly where I was standing? I'll tell you. So that's my story.
I mean, Harry, wow. I think you do a great you'll be a great actor in one of Game of Thrones. You know, I hope they're gonna do like another season or something, even if I know like it's the end. But thanks for sharing this story. It's I really loved what you shared about the way you saw it and your experience of it, and the way you linked it to this quote from Al-Ghazali, because Al-Ghazali is one of the scholars that I love, you know, reading his books, and like the way he shares about Islam is completely different from, it's not contaminated basically. And I like the purity of his messages and his wisdom, because you really come back to it and see that it's true, you know, like you did, Harry. Wherever dilemma or problem gets in our way or in our thinking, because there are no problems out there, we could find our bearings and come back to who we truly are, to our infinite, unlimited potential, our divineness. And that's the best thing there is. I mean, I think, well, this is the point of life, to see that. This is the human experience, to forget that and remember that.
Both.
I think I will write this poem.
Katrina said, "Oh, go ahead, Ruby. Go ahead."
I am just reading. I've got loads of poetry by Rumi, and you know, but I'm just looking at something I've got that just what you're saying, Harry, is a poem verse by Hafiz.
Yeah.
And it's saying, greet yourself in your 1,000 other forms as you mount the hidden tide and travel back home.
So the Muslims express very exotic, very picturesque, the way they can capture things. I would say the Western mind is more scientific, but the ancient Muslim mind is very, it seems to be able to create a picture that you can touch.
Could you repeat that, Rubina, please?
Yeah, it says, greet yourself in your 1,000 other forms as you mount the hidden tide and travel back home. Yeah, It's just,
Love
you're-
it.
yeah, you're greeting yourself in whatever way or the forms, as you mounting the hidden tide. So the hidden tide is truly, like you're saying, Omar, who you really are, traveling back home. So reminds me of sometimes when we are in, you know, what Allah has decreed already, what Harry was just mentioning by Ghazali, and what is already decreed, and what is already decreed can appear like hell. But out of that can come something so beautiful and evolve to the highest heaven, because we don't know at the time where we're going. But when we kind of arrive, everything, and look back, oh my, wow, I'm so blessed to have received what Allah has decreed, because without that, I wouldn't be here where I am. But it was all in the making of the one that was taking you forward through the tide, but you could not see it. Only the one could see it, but we could not see it at the time. It's like every single part of my journey in the past has led me to where I am. So
in perfection, led
yeah,
you to imperfection.
to see, to awake, to be, to a gift, to receive a gift. But it sure did feel like hell. I don't want to be here. But through that, you know, you just like traveling, you think, wow, everything from that journey has been a blessing, whether it was whether I saw it or not. It's beautiful. So everything that has been decreed is beautiful.
Not only beautiful, necessary. I was reading an indigenous wise woman, very wise woman, and she was explaining that we need these, which we call bad feelings or negative experiences, or we wouldn't be here. Like they actually keep you grounded, not only showing you the contrast, but they're needed, or else, like when I'm on holiday here, it's easy to float away. And to do anything, you get to the point where, do I have to really get up and get my own cup of coffee? Couldn't it just be brought to me or something like that? And you start to see it's what keeps us in this reality from her, what she was teaching. And it opened my eyes. It's not actually bad. It's necessary for us to be here. For you to be here talking to me, you have to be have a little bit of that irritation or that addiction or that thing. It keeps us, I guess you'd say, it allows us to see the whole picture. You have something, Katrina, you want to seem to put
No,
your
I was just waving to Xander.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm distracting you.
Does that make sense, Ruby?
I love how you shared, Rubina, and it's like everything in life is working for us. Every experience we are having is meant to waken us up more and more to our divinity, really, to our true potential, limited potential, because sometimes we just forget that and we start really playing small and doing little efforts. I mean, not just like playing small when you're running a business or something like that, but also when it comes to you know, loving your family, being kind to other people, doing your job.
To the best of your ability, to the best of our ability.
Yeah. So those experiences kind of trying to waken us up to that deeper level, that there is more to see, and that there is it's unlimited. It's just unlimited, and I love this. You know, I'm fascinated by this, and it's really humbling to know.
Let me give an example, Omar. When I'm in the water and going through all this negative stuff, Katrina actually hit the nail on the head. She said, you make an observation that you're not in control, that life is more than just your control. And that completes the picture of what we need to know to be balanced as a human being. We are ocean in a drop, but or a drop in the ocean, but without that added understanding that I am not in control, I am limiting my ability to share with myself and other people, because it's not true. I am not in control. And yet how I deal with being out of control or the situation, that seems to be in my control. That, if you bring consciousness along with it, it seems to bring the little treasure jewel. You know, you open the treasure chest, and it sort of takes your mind out of its comfort zone into unimaginable, into too many beliefs about what life is. So I think actually when you wrote that, Katrina, you actually wrote exactly what I experienced through what I just described.
I have recent experience of the sea stealing my shoes, knocking me over and kicking me up the bum. And knowing full well, I'm not the one who's in control, and it's so much fun to play with.
Yeah.
May I say something? Hi, I'm Lori Ann. Thanks for
Hi,
inviting.
Laurie. Thanks for joining.
So Harry, when you read the poem that had the line that said, "The universe is inside of us," I had like this moment. I think I had my eyes closed. And I had this moment where it was like, I felt like I kind of got hit by a jolt. And all of a sudden in my mind's eye, I saw within myself this whole like universe that looked like just stars and space and just this vastness. And it felt just like, I'm this. It was like, it was such an incredible feeling. And I was just like, wow, you know, and then the other piece that was just so incredible to me is the talking about addiction and how it's just about getting together and just having fun. And sometimes it's so easy to forget that, especially if it impacts your life in any way. You know, it can be hard to remember that if you just keep having fun, then whoever you're impacting will need that less and less, because we do it because we feel uncomfortable. And another thing I wanted to say, is this idea of that, like, we aren't in control. And that
it's much easier. And
yeah, and that Allah, whatever Allah decrees is meant to be. And I used to feel like Allah was outside and I'm here, that there was a separation. And at some point I realized that there is no separation. And so Allah is just like a bigger part of me. And then that felt good because it's just some bigger part of me that knows everything that is in charge. And then I just get to sort of float down the river of all of these decrees, or in the ocean, and every now and then get to kind of actually control my rudder and float through the life of and that has been really helpful for me to see that everything's inside. It's all one. So
beautiful. Yeah.
This is amazing. Thank you so much.
You have another one, Ruby? The first one was pretty good. You see, it looks like you have a couple there. Well, we all have, but I like listening to you.
I've got a few, Harry. Let me just give me a few minutes. I'm just going to have a look through my list. I've got tons.
Oh, I know that. Yeah. There's, Laurie, each people have a different flavor, but the Muslims' faith is very sweet, and they're able to embrace it. Like, I thought it was all about discipline. Like, it sounded like when I was outside the bubble, it was all about discipline. You have to do this, but it turns out it isn't. There's a ease in it, and a interest in it, and a reward in it that's I find invigorating, very, very invigorating.
I have one poem that I want to share, Harry.
Oh, go ahead, Omar.
By your guy, Shams Tabrizi.
Who?
Shams Tabrizi.
Shams. Oh, yeah.
Yes, Shams.
Oh, Shams, by the way, was the teacher to Rumi, I believe.
One of his teachers.
One of it, I'd say his main teacher, but anyway, go ahead.
He once said, or he once wrote, when I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of stress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me, and without pain. From this, I understand that what I want also wants me. If looking for me and attracting me, what I want also wants me is looking for me and attracting me. There is a great secret here for anyone who can grasp it.
You have to read that again, Omar. I'm sorry, I missed it. Just one more time. I know it's short, but go ahead.
When I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of stress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me and without pain. From this, I understand that what I want also wants me, is looking for me and attracting me. There is a great secret here for anyone who can grasp it.
I have an example of that. Is it okay if I share?
Please do, Laurie. This is by the way, this is a group discussion. So myself and Harry are not the experts. Even Harry look more like an expert than I do, but go on, please, Laurie.
Everybody knows I'm not an expert, but-
I'm no expert.
yeah.
And I'm constantly being reminded of this lesson. So as we've been coming off of Christmas break, holiday break, I sort of got into this mode because it was a whole lot of doing nothing except for like traveling. And we got my son a computer. So really then a whole lot of doing nothing. So then I started thinking that we all needed to be doing more activities and having a more structured life because it was so unstructured. So I started looking for activities and I was really going at it. Right. And nothing was coming. My son wasn't wanting to do anything. And then finally, just yesterday, I thought, I'm just going to ask. Just going to ask for the things that would be nice for us to do together to just come to me. And then sure enough, I was laying in bed. I was listening to the book, Dear Liza by Sid Banks. And all of a sudden it popped into my head, horseback riding. And it was just so like natural and easy. And it was like, oh yeah, I love that. And he's excited about that. And things just started popping in for our lives to be a little more, contained, to have a little more of a rhythm than before. But it was such a different feeling than this like force, like and it was just, it's so beautiful to go from that sort of, I'm going to force this and I'm going to make this happen to that. I'm going to allow and I'm going to ask and I'm going to have what wants me come to me. So it was really cool.
That's beautiful. To have a beautiful feeling in the moment and see how natural that is without the contamination of what we think. That seems to be everything that we need. After that, we're content and we see how it works. It's so strange that life should work like that when the world says you should be overactive, over busy. And I realize the reason people are so busy is they are afraid of their own thoughts. They can't be alone with themselves and the quiet. And when I'm sitting in Mexico at first, guess what the biggest battle was? That was it, to be alone with myself, with my own thoughts. And it took a little while for me to delve through that. It's almost like bad habits had developed unconsciously in me. And now the silence was the opportunity. So I should just go into it like that. But it wasn't like that. It was, I had to go through what I had to go through to. And then when it started to get inklings of it, I could see that was the right direction. I see that's the way it really works. And it does work like that. When we want to become a better human being and a better spiritual being, we see how life works. Because we're curious. How does this darn thing work? I had a client yesterday from Nigeria, and he read my book and read about Sid Banks and starts talking about the three principles. And he concludes with, I always wanted to know of how the spiritual and the psychological connect together. And I thought, isn't he like everybody? Everybody wants to know that. And it does.
Can I say something?
Of course, Ruby.
It reminds me of quite some time ago when there was another soul who's trying to search for truth and kind of on the same journey, the same length of time, but it's like, I can't see it. I can't see it. Why can't I see it? And it's like, well, I've been on this journey for such a long time. How come I can't see it? So the more she was searching, the more she was searching, the more it was like, not coming. And the moment she put everything down, stopped the search, then it was shown to her. So stillness in her was the place where it was shown to her. As before, she was chasing for the truth, this peace, the stillness, but it was in that awakened moment where she never expected to see that. So that's how I see it. That's my example. But I've got one here by Rumi, Maulana Rumi.
Oh, please do. Bring it
Uh,
on.
It's something kind of reiterates what Stephanie Banks says a lot of the time, where look beyond the words. So the title of this one is called Love is Beyond Words. I love every love poem by Rumi. I don't know why, I'm just in love with every poem that is all about love. So love is beyond words. And he says, however much I might try to expound or explain love, when I come to love itself, I'm ashamed of my explanations. Love alone can explain the mysteries of love and lovers. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So how do you explain love? How do you explain a love? How do you explain the boundaries? How do you explain? It's unexplainable. When I come to love itself, I'm ashamed of my explanations. So I've been trying to explain what I think love is, but love is not that. It's not that what I've been thinking all my life, which was me. This is real. So I thought, oh wow, this love is what my husband gives me, my family gives me, my parents. But that's not what love is. That's not where love comes from. And the world is looking for love, and I have written a poem myself on this. I haven't got it from you right now, but it's got something like, I think it's the world is looking for love, hungry for love. But that's not what love is. It's they're looking for it in the wrong place. It's not what they think it is. Blinded by love, which they think is just words that come from your partner. Oh wow. Well, I feel so loved. But that's not what love is. Love is the awakened moment to see that you are already with love. You are already connected to love. There is no search for love. It's already there. And it's beyond the words we hear. It's beyond the words that we speak. It's unexplainable. We can only express it. Like I know many, many, many times I've just broken into tears of gratitude, of love, experiencing the love in the present moment. In the moment is the love that I feel and experience. I'm so grateful to have that experience. And so it's unexplainable. So yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravina. That was beautiful. And you know, when you said that, what is love? You know, like we can't explain what love is, because love is just that. Love is that we can't explain, and Allah is that we can't explain as well. They are not separate, and they are to be experienced, for sure. I've got a short quote from Rumi around love. He once said that your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And that really resonates with me now than ever before, because the more I see through the barriers that I built against love and everything else, the more I see that we were born perfect, and along the way we somehow sidetracked, you know, with our conditioning and programming, and you know, the society we were brought up in, and our friends, family, and we forget that. We lose our innocence. And so now we spend all our life trying to come back to that innocence that, you know, we were born with. And so what we do most of the time is try to read a book, how to come back to our innocence. It's just an example, self-help book. And we think that we could find it in a book or somewhere out there, somewhere else. But it never occurs to us that it's within. We just have to turn back inward and look for it in our depth of consciousness. And so I'm really grateful that I've seen that for myself, and I'm really grateful that I'm able now to share it with other human beings who are suffering and need this more than us. Like, I mean, I still suffer, but there are people who are suffering. They don't know that this suffering is passing by, and it's their thinking. And so, yeah, we are lucky. We really are. Because like
the luckiest people
yeah,
in the world.
the luckiest. And so we are the luckiest, but we want to spread that luckylessness. I don't know if there is any word that exists like that, but with more people, because it's not it's not ours to own. It's for everyone else. It's for everyone. It's for every human being out there. And that's just amazing. That's the best good news you could ever tell someone, or even better, you could create that space to facilitate this for someone to see it for themselves. And that's the best gift ever you could give someone. I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah. Must be time for me to read a quote from Ghazali about suffering, Omar. You see, you brought it up. And there also has a word in there that I want to declare your jihad. Now, I want to, jihad with a B is what Ruby is wearing. Jihad. That's correct. Is that correct, Ruby?
That's hijab.
Hijab. Oh,
Yes.
it's not oh. See?
Guys, you're just watching Harry having an insight. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. It even isn't even start
You
to
see?
say. Yeah. Declare your
Love it.
jihad, and in it meant exerted effort. That was one of the definitions of jihad. On 13 enemies you cannot see: egoism, arrogance, conceit, selfishness, greed, lust, intolerance, anger, lying, cheating, gossiping, and slandering. If you can master an enemy, you can see. All that stuff.
Could you repeat the last bit, Harry? If you can master, we lost you for a bit.
If you can master and destroy them, these 13 things, then you will be ready to fight the enemy you can see. That's 3 principles, guys, from a psychological perspective.
That's what Sidney Banks called the sickness of the mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Personal mind.
Like, I found it really interesting because in the Muslim community, we often go and try to get rid of this. And we often try, I don't know, practicing something to do it. I think having an insight or a change of heart around that is much more effortless than trying to do something about it, which makes it sometimes even worse. And that comes back with feeling guilty or, beating up ourselves about it when it doesn't happen. I don't know. What do you think about that, Robina? Do you notice the same thing around this? Because I see a lot of people suffering, trying to do or to practice, I don't know, or to use a method to get rid of those things, of those desires. And most of the time, it's not effective. I mean, it might work for some people, but most people, it's not effective for them. And so they get either depressed or sick about it, or I don't know. It just
Uptight.
makes them, or yeah, and it makes them further from Allah. They might still pray and everything, but that connection, that there is more thought to it that actually separates us to see or to connect to source, to Allah. But it's really interesting because the spiritual dimension, as I mention all the time, is really, really mandatory to know. Because it really brings you to another dimension of what you believe to be true. It makes you go beyond the scripture to this to source,
To the essence.
to the essence, exactly, to the essence. And from the essence, you really read it in a different way. You read it not to judge, but to benefit from it. Like in the golden age, people used to look for knowledge that will nourish their souls rather than their intellect. It's really getting lost now. Like we don't see this often. Like I see all the time people trying to feed themselves with more informations, which is not bad, but I think there is a deeper knowledge that we should be all reading about or getting in touch with, because it's really innate, our wisdom.
That's what this show is all about. You just described what hopefully is the process of the essence of this show, is for people to share a more profound feeling together, than because we know it's true. Everyone in this room knows about this deeper dimension of thought, deeper dimension of spirit. So that alone facilitates the process. And the other part, Omar, that I feel is, it's certainly true for me, what really helped me, the trying to be perfect, that I am perfect, that everything I do is perfect. I want to, and not to forgive myself when I am imperfect. That trying to be perfect is kind of what you give it up, then you see where perfection is. It's
Harry, I love what you just mentioned, and I want to read out a few comments from people who actually commenting on the Facebook Live. Yel said Jihad is the terror of the mind, and Inas answered it's a struggling against the terror of the mind. Yeah, well, this is actually the accurate definition of Jihad. It's struggling against the terror of the mind. What do you think, Ruby, about this?
I love this one. I see this as the struggle of the nafs. Nafs is another kind of word similar to ego. So you're kind of struggling with the ego, you're struggling with yourself. You're really not struggling with anything other than yourself. The part of you that wants to be right, never wrong, wants to be, feeling is coming from somewhere else other than thought. And this is the fight. This is the fight. This is jihad. This is the you see how people are trying to control, and I want to get rid of this jealousy. I want to get rid of this, all these diseases of the heart that Ghazali talks about. But really, it is a struggle of, like we're saying, the mind, like you say, but it's a struggle of yourself. You kind of like, oh, it's the ego. Oh, it's like, it to you is looking, real, but really it's an illusion. But you kind of know. It's like just not too long ago, I was in a place of suffering, because we all do it from time to time. But I knew I was in the illusion, but I ain't shifting. My ego doesn't want to shift. My ego was like, nah, I want to stay here. I'm going to carry on. I don't want to move. I don't want to go anywhere. This feels good, this ego. And it's really bizarre, because you're in it, but it's like, no way you're going to shift. So kind of keep on fighting this battle. That's what Ghazali was talking about. This is the jihad. It's not the physical external, it's the internal. And and the other thing is something that I've kind of come across recently is the word, you know, like you just mentioned, Harry, like just a while ago, about hijab. Hijab in the Quran is not the hijab that people wear as a scarf. Hijab means a complete separate meaning. And I've got here, there's about 4 or 5, I think, places where hijab is mentioned in the Quran. And I'll just read you a little bit. They say our hearts are under veils, concealed from that to which thou does invite us, and in our ears in a deafness, and between us there is a screen. Screen. What is a screen? The hijab is a screen. I see the illusion as a screen. It's like a veil of my heart. And that reminds me of the title when I use my book, The Unveiling of My Heart, because it is the veil, it is a screen, it is a hijab that covers us to who we really are. Who we really are is covered by a veil. But the blessed one is the one who is awake to see what this screen is. And what is a screen? What is this hijab that the Quran talks about? It's, wow. Blessings to Sydney Banks. Blessings to the one that we've been able to hear the truth from deep within, to see really understanding what hijab actually means. This is just a scarf that I wear on my head. It's not a hijab, really. Hijab is the screen, the covering that we all cover, I don't know how many times in a day, that reveals.
Do you mean the mask, like that we put on? Do you mean the mask that we put on?
Yeah, mask is the same
False
as
identity.
yeah. It's really, there is no mask. We make it up.
Yeah, this false identity that we always
We make this screen, this mask, this, you know, illusion that we walk around. We do it. We do it. And but it's we're blessed really that I still don't hold myself as the one that does the unveiling, because it is shown to me by the divine. That is a gift. It is a gift to be unveiled. And as much as I want to do, wow. That's why I thought in gratitude. I thought, wow, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ya Allah, for unveiling me to see truth again, because I'd covered it myself. I'm the one covering myself.
It's a symbol or a ceremony of, in the indigenous world, we have the pipe. Of course, you don't need the pipe to pray to Allah or to Great Spirit, but it creates an agreement that this is a truth, a special moment. There's a beauty in ceremony. It is true what Omar has been saying. A lot of people have lost the essence of the beauty or the original message and have taken it into an intellectual or a linear way of looking at it. When I had the pipe, I have very powerful pipe in the indigenous world. When I went into the non-Indigenous world, I said, I'm just doing a pipe ceremony without the pipe. If the pipe was just the symbol that in the Indigenous world they could accept, but not in the non-Indigenous world. So I wouldn't bring it into the threshold. And what I found, Omar, was a freedom in not being attached to the pipe, and yet loving sharing the pipe, loving the beauty of the ceremony, and in Ruby's case, the symbolism of what it means. You know, that's really, when you look at it from the perspective you presented, Ruby, I can see that it exemplifies exactly who we are. We are all covered up, and we need to unveil ourselves from, etc., etc.
I love it, Harry. Well, before we approach the end of this beautiful conversation, but before we end it, I would love to hear from people who didn't share anything. Maya, would you like to?
Yeah, I guess it's my
Hi.
turn.
Good to see you.
just
Yeah,
love- I loved
you've been
everything
quiet
that you
today.
shared. I've just been quiet, and that's okay sometimes.
Definitely.
I just like to share that recently I saw somebody posting on Facebook the meaning of the jihad that you just discussed, and the definition looks to me like any good Christian would practice jihad, actually. So that's just a fun fact. Like most of people would be scared of people mentioning that word. So I think it's good to just be informing the true meaning and
clarifying what it means.
well, just clarify, yes. And anyway, people could have different definitions and different interpretations, but I like the peaceful one, the inner work, and the way I see it, the how you read that, Harry, that is sort of that you have to eliminate or fight those inner enemies. It sounds like a lot of work, right? That's why I love
it does,
I
but
love
the truth is easy.
yeah,
Arriving at truth is not always so easy.
yeah. I just like to share that what I thought of when you read that was the solution from Sydney Banks is that just to see that you're already innocent, and you may experience all those feelings or inner issues, but when you come back to that unveiling state, you just see through it, and that is really okay.
Yeah, and then you're actually open to receive.
Yeah.
That word that Ruby said, love. I'll just add unconditional love.
True. So thank you all. It's been wonderful.
Beautiful, Maya. Thank you for sharing that. And I think you're right. It's really important to clarify and really zoom into what jihad means, because there are lots of misunderstandings we see, especially in the media, about what that means, and it's linked to something completely opposite of what it really means. But I'm glad that people start really seeing and learning what this really means, and that it has nothing to do with terrorism and all what we see, all this bad news that we see around the world that is linked to Islam. So yeah, I'm happy to see that. Well, this has been a beautiful conversation. Wow, thank you guys for joining us and sharing your your wisdom and your takeaways, and your your quote. And thanks to my co-host Harry Derbitsky, who made me jealous today because he's wearing a T-shirt in a beautiful, warm Mexico. What city you're in, Harry?
It's a little fishing village of about 1,000 people called Punta Perula, about 2 hours below Puerto Vallarta. And so it's a fishing village, and on one side is this beautiful ocean, and then the other side, when you walk through the town, it's a little run down, but the people, Omar, the people. The town is run down.
Beautiful, beautiful, as my Italian friends say.
Yeah. that's
Mamma
the truth.
mia.
Mamma mia. Yeah.
All right. With that being said, I'll love you and leave you all, and see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, and Ruby, you should, the topic was originally nafs, ego self and true self, but we took out the word nafs and made it ego self and true self. Very similar to what, if you would show up for that, there would be a topic that I'm sure you could add value to for people, type of thing.
I'd love to do that, Harry.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you, to be honest. And thanks for contributing today, by the way. That was made the show really special. And hasta la vista, amigos.
Hasta luego, mi amigo.
All right. Over's got the languages down. See you then. Thank you, people.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Right.